The galaxy was in trouble. Dark ships filled the sky above many planets. They belonged to a powerful alien empire known as the Zarkons. The Zarkons were ruthless conquerors, and they wanted to control everything in their path. For years, they had been invading weak planets, taking their resources and enslaving their people. The news of their attacks spread quickly, filling every corner of the galaxy with fear. On the planet of Lyra, a council of leaders gathered in a hidden chamber. These leaders represented different races, each with their own unique abilities. There were the tall, green-skinned Thalans, known for their strength, the small, blue-skinned Farians, masters of technology, and the graceful, feathered Avians, who could fly high above the clouds. They all faced the same problem. The Zarkons were coming for them next. The leader of the Thalans, a strong and wise warrior named Varek, stood at the front of the group. His face was serious as he looked around the room. "We cannot fight them alone," he said. "Our forces are weak. We need help." A murmur of agreement spread through the room. The leaders all knew that their armies were not strong enough to stand against the Zarkons. They needed a new plan. The wise elder of the Farians, a small but clever being named Ziri, spoke up. "I have heard stories about the humans from Earth. They are brave and clever. They have faced many challenges and always find a way to win. Perhaps they are our only hope." The Avians nodded, their feathers rustling in agreement. "But how do we contact them?" "We are light years away from Earth," said Zara, the leader of the Avians. Ziri thought for a moment and then smiled. "We can send a message using a long-range communicator. It might take time, but we must try. If we do not act now, the Zarkons will destroy us all." The council members worked quickly. They gathered their best engineers to build a powerful transmitter. Hours passed as they worked, and finally, the device was ready. The leaders gathered around, their hearts racing with hope and fear. Ziri pressed a button and the screen lit up. "To the brave people of Earth," Ziri began, his voice steady, "we are in great danger. The Zarkon Empire is attacking our planets. We are weak and need your help. Please, we beg you to send assistance. If you do not help us, we will fall." As the message was sent, the council members felt a mix of fear and hope. They had taken a big step, but would the humans respond? Would they be willing to help beings they had never met? Back on Earth, the message reached a small group of scientists and soldiers. They were gathered in a high-tech room, monitoring space communications. When the message came through, everyone fell silent. They listened carefully, their eyes wide with concern. Captain Harris, a strong and brave soldier, stood up. "We can't just ignore this. If they are in danger, we must help them. We have a chance to make a difference in the galaxy?" Dr. Lena, a brilliant scientist, nodded. "But we need to prepare. This is a risky mission. We don't know what we will face out there." The group quickly began discussing plans. They worked late into the night, gathering equipment and forming a strategy. Captain Harris and Dr. Lena knew they needed the best team for the job. Meanwhile, back on Lyra, the council waited anxiously for a response. Days turned into weeks. The fear of the Zarkons grew stronger. They could see the dark ships approaching, casting shadows over their world. Time was running out. Finally, just when hope seemed lost, a signal flickered on their communicator. The council gathered once more, their hearts pounding. Ziri pressed the button, and the screen revealed a group of humans ready to help. "Earth is coming," Harris said, determination in his eyes. The council cheered, relief washing over them. They were not alone anymore. The humans were on their way, and the fight for the galaxy was just beginning. The message from the Alien Council weighed heavily on Captain Harris and his team. They gathered in the command room of the spaceship Endeavor, a sleek vessel ready for its journey to the galaxy in distress. Harris looked at the faces of his crew, each one filled with a mix of fear and determination. They all knew the risks, but they also understood the importance of their mission. "All right, team," Harris began, his voice steady. "We have a chance to help those who cannot help themselves. The Zarkons are ruthless, and if we don't act now, countless lives will be lost. We are not just going to save them. We are going to show the galaxy what humans can do." Dr. Lena, the ship's lead scientist, nodded. "We have the technology and knowledge to fight back. We need to use everything we have to our advantage. I've been studying the Zarkon fleet's movements. I believe we can plan a surprise attack." The crew members listened carefully. They were eager to hear more about the plan. Lena continued, "The Zarkons rely on their advanced ships, but they are not invincible. We can exploit their weaknesses if we act quickly. We'll need to gather intel once we arrive." "Agreed," said Mark, the ship's engineer. We should also modify our weapons for maximum impact. If we can catch them off guard, we'll have a better chance of winning. The team prepared themselves for the journey ahead. They stocked the ship with weapons, food, and supplies. The countdown began, and with each passing second, excitement grew. In just a few moments, they would be traveling through the stars to help the alien races begging for their aid. As the Endeavor launched into space, the crew felt a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. They were flying into the unknown, but their hearts were filled with purpose. They were ready to fight for those who could not fight for themselves. Meanwhile, on the planet Lyra, the Council awaited news from Earth. Days had passed since they sent their desperate message. The dark clouds of the Zarkon ships loomed ever closer, casting shadows over their world. Tension filled the air, and fear seeped into the hearts of the council members. Zara, the leader of the Avians, looked at her companions. What if the humans do not come? What if we are left to face the Zarkons alone? Varek, the Thalan leader, shook his head. We must have faith. They have heard our plea. We must prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Suddenly, a signal flickered on the communication device. The council members hurried to gather around. The screen lit up, and there it was, the familiar logo of Earth's military. A voice came through, and hope surged in their hearts. Lyra Council, this is Captain Harris of the Endeavor. We have received your message, and we are on our way. We will arrive within the next few days. Prepare your forces, and we will coordinate our attack against the Zarkons. Cheers erupted in the council chamber. The members hugged each other, tears of joy streaming down their faces. They were no longer alone. Help was coming. Back on the Endeavor, Captain Harris and his crew were busy finalizing their plan. They studied the maps of the galaxy, pinpointing the locations of the Zarkon fleets. Dr. Lena explained their strategy in detail. We will split into two teams. One will create a distraction, drawing the Zarkons away from their main base. The other team will launch a surprise attack while their attention is focused elsewhere. Harris nodded. We have to be quick and precise. Timing will be crucial. We cannot allow the Zarkons to regroup once we strike. As they traveled through space, the crew bonded over their shared goal. They shared stories, laughter, and fears, building trust and camaraderie. Each member felt a sense of purpose, knowing they were fighting for a noble cause. As the Endeavor approached the Lyra system, the crew prepared for battle. The dark shadows of the Zarkon ships appeared in the distance, and tension filled the air. Harris looked out at the ships and then turned to his crew, determination in his eyes. This is it, he said. We're about to make history. For the galaxy, for those who cannot fight, we will show them the power of humanity. The crew cheered, their spirits lifted. They were ready to face the Zarkon menace and prove that when no one else could help the galaxy, humans would step in. The battle was just beginning. As the Endeavor entered the Lyra system, Captain Harris and his crew felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The dark shapes of Zarkon ships filled the sky, and the team knew they had to act fast. But first, they needed to meet their new allies. The ship landed on the surface of Lyra, and the crew stepped out into a world that was both beautiful and strange. The sky was a vibrant shade of purple, with 3 suns shining down, creating a warm glow. The air was filled with the sounds of alien creatures, and the lush green forests seemed to come alive with energy. Waiting for them were the council members, eager to greet their new friends. Varek, the Thalan leader, stepped forward, his tall frame towering over the humans. Welcome, brave humans! We are grateful for your arrival. Together we will fight the Zarkons. Zara, the leader of the Avians, fluttered her colorful feathers. We have heard much about you. We are excited to work together and learn from each other. Harris smiled, feeling a rush of warmth at their words. We are here to help, and we can learn from each other too. We face a great challenge ahead, but I believe together we can succeed. Dr. Lena stepped forward, ready to share her knowledge. We have studied the Zarkon fleet and their weaknesses. If we can unite our strengths, we can come up with a solid plan. The council members nodded, eager to hear more. They gathered in a large open space filled with strange plants that seemed to hum with energy. Lena displayed a holographic map of the Zarkon ships, highlighting their positions and patterns. Here is where the Zarkons have concentrated their forces, Lena explained. If we attack here, we can catch them off guard. But we need to coordinate our efforts. The Thalans, Farians, and Avians listened intently. Each group had its own strengths. The Thalans were strong and skilled in hand-to-hand combat, The Farians were excellent engineers, and the Avians could fly and scout from above. "Together we can form a strategy," Varric said, his voice deep and confident. "We will create a diversion to draw the Zarkons away from their main base, allowing the humans to strike." Zara nodded, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I can lead the Avian scouts to monitor the enemy's movements. We will give you real-time updates, allowing you to adjust your plan as needed." Captain Harris felt inspired. "And while you create the diversion, we'll prepare our main attack. Dr. Lena, can we modify our weapons to match the Thalan's strength?" Lena smiled and nodded. "Absolutely. We can enhance the weapons with our technology to make them more powerful. We will make sure we are ready for anything." The council members exchanged glances, their confidence growing. They felt the power of unity among different races. They were no longer just isolated beings, they were a team ready to fight for their survival. As preparations began, the crew shared meals with the council members. They laughed, learned about each other's cultures, and shared stories of bravery. The humans learned that the Farians had advanced technology, while the Avians had incredible agility in battle. The Thalans were fierce warriors with a deep sense of honor. The days flew by as they worked side by side. They practiced fighting techniques, trained with new weapons, and learned how to communicate effectively. Bonds formed, breaking down the barriers that had once separated them. But there was still a shadow hanging over them. The threat of the Zarkon Empire loomed large. Captain Harris called a final meeting to discuss their plan. "We are stronger together," he reminded everyone. "Each of us has something unique to offer. We must trust each other and be ready to adapt." The council members nodded in agreement, their faces set with determination. They understood the importance of unity in the face of danger. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. As they finalized their strategy, the air crackled with anticipation. They were ready to face the Zarkon threat, but more than that, they were ready to fight for each other. They had become more than allies, they had become friends. On the eve of battle, Captain Harris looked at his new friends, each representing a different race and culture. "No matter what happens tomorrow, we have already achieved something great. We have come together as one, and that is a victory in itself." As the stars shone brightly above, the team felt a sense of hope. They were ready to face the darkness together. The battle ahead would test them, but they knew they would fight side by side, united as friends. The galaxy was about to witness the power of their alliance. The day of the battle had arrived. The skies over Lyra were filled with the sounds of preparation as the council members and the crew of the Endeavor geared up for the fight against the Zarkon forces. The tension was thick in the air, but there was also a feeling of unity and hope. They were ready to rise together. Captain Harris stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, looking at the gathered team. "Today is our chance to show the galaxy what we can achieve together. We fight not just for our survival, but for the lives of countless beings who depend on us. Each of you plays a crucial role in this mission." Dr. Lena checked the weapon systems, her hands moving swiftly over the controls. "The modifications worked perfectly. Our weapons are now more powerful, and I've integrated the Thalan strength enhancements. We're ready." Varric, the Thalan leader, stood beside her, his eyes fierce with determination. "We will lead the ground attack. Our warriors are ready to fight. The Zarkons will not know what hit them." Zara fluttered her wings excitedly. "The Avians will scout the area. We'll keep an eye on the Zarkon movements and relay any information back to you. Our speed will give us the edge." As the Endeavor lifted off the ground, the crew felt a rush of adrenaline. The ship soared into the sky, heading toward the Zarkon fleet, which was still positioned ominously in the distance. Harris felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, but he also felt something else, a deep sense of pride in his team. "Remember the plan," he reminded everyone. "Zara, keep us updated on the enemy movements. Lena, ensure all systems are functional. Varric, prepare your forces. We strike when the time is right." The team nodded, their faces set with determination. They knew the stakes and were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The ground troops, made up of Thalans and Farians, prepared for their part of the plan, while the humans remained aboard the Endeavor, ready to support them from the air. As they approached the Zarkon base, the first signs of battle emerged. Explosions lit up the sky as the Thalan forces launched their surprise attack. The Zarkons were caught off guard, their ships scattering in confusion. Harris could see the Zarkon ships trying to regroup, but the chaos was in their favor. "Now is our chance!" Harris shouted. Let's join the fight! The Endeavor dove into the fray, firing its enhanced weapons at the nearest Zarkon ships. The crew worked in perfect harmony, following Harris's orders with precision. Dr. Lena shouted out updates as they targeted enemy vessels, providing crucial information that kept the crew on track. Meanwhile, Zara and the avians soared through the skies, darting around enemy ships. They used their agility to dodge laser fire and distract the Zarkon forces. Zara called out to her fellow avians, guiding them toward weak points in the enemy lines. "Focus your fire on the ship on the left. It's vulnerable." Back on the ground, Varric led the Thalan forces into battle, their fierce combat skills shining through. They charged forward, swords clashing with Zarkon armor. Varric fought at the front lines, his strength inspiring his warriors. "Push forward! We fight for our freedom!" The Farians provided crucial support, using their engineering skills to disable Zarkon weapon systems. They worked quickly, planting devices that short-circuited enemy ships. The ground troops were relentless, pushing the Zarkons back and gaining ground. As the battle raged on, Captain Harris saw a glimmer of hope. The Zarkon forces were disorganized, struggling to regroup. The combined efforts of the Thalans, Farians, and Avians were proving effective. "Let's finish this!" Harris shouted, rallying his crew. "Full power to the weapons! We will not let them escape." With their combined might, the team pressed on. They pushed deeper into the enemy territory, their spirits high as they fought alongside each other. Each victory fueled their determination, and they knew they were making a difference. Hours passed, but the battle continued. The combined forces of the humans and the alien races were proving stronger than the Zarkon threat. As the dust began to settle, it was clear that they were winning. Finally, a loud cheer erupted from both the ground troops and the crew aboard the Endeavor. The Zarkons were retreating, their ships scrambling to escape the united force they had underestimated. Harris felt a wave of relief wash over him. They had done it. "We have shown them the power of unity," he shouted over the comms, his heart swelling with pride. As the last Zarkon ships fled into the void, the team gathered, celebrating their hard-fought victory. They had risen together, not just as allies, but as friends. The battle had forged bonds that would last a lifetime, proving that when faced with darkness, they could shine brightly together. In the end, it was not just a battle won, it was a new beginning for the galaxy. Together, they had made history, and their journey was far from over. The victory against the Zarkon forces was celebrated throughout the Lyra system. But Captain Harris and his crew knew the fight was far from over. Reports indicated that a massive Zarkon fleet was on its way, gathering strength for one final assault. They were coming to reclaim their lost territory and crush the united forces of the Thalans, Farians, Avians, and humans. On board the Endeavor, the atmosphere was tense. Captain Harris stood at the front, looking over his team. "We did well in the last battle, but this will be different. The Zarkons are coming back stronger. We must prepare for everything they throw at us." Dr. Lena, ever the strategist, spread a holographic map of the incoming Zarkon fleet on the main screen. "They have a larger force this time, but we have the advantage of surprise. If we strike first, we might disrupt their formation." Varric, the Thalan leader, nodded in agreement. "Let's not wait for them to attack. We need to take the fight to them. Our warriors are ready to defend our home and fight for our freedom." Zara, with her feathers ruffled in excitement, added, "The Avians can scout ahead and gather intelligence on their positions. We can find their weak spots." Harris felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, but also the strength of his team. "All right, here's the plan. We will split into two groups. The Endeavor will lead the aerial assault, while the Thalan ground troops will attack from below. Farians will support both sides with their tech." The crew quickly fell into action. Each member knew their role and the stakes involved. The mood was serious, but there was a sense of determination that ran through them all. They were fighting for their freedom and for each other. As they approached the Zarkon fleet, the vastness of the enemy ships filled the view screen. Harris could see their heavy artillery and overwhelming numbers. "Stay focused. Remember our training. We are stronger together." With a battle cry, the Endeavor charged forward, and the ship shook with energy as the engines roared to life. Dr. Lena worked furiously at her controls, targeting Zarkon ships with precision. "Weapons ready, Captain." "We are locked on! Fire!" Harris commanded, and the ship erupted with energy as lasers shot forward, striking the nearest Zarkon vessels. The crew felt the thrill of battle surge through them. The Zarkons were caught off guard, and the first wave of fire hit them hard. However, the enemy quickly regrouped, returning fire with fierce intensity. Explosions lit up the space around them as the Zarkon ships began to retaliate. Meanwhile, the Thalan forces launched their ground assault. Varek led the charge, his warriors moving with purpose. "For Lyra!" he shouted, brandishing his weapon as they advanced on the enemy ground positions. The Farians used their gadgets to disable Zarkon defenses, creating paths for the Thalans to push through. Zara and the Avians swooped in from above, launching their own attacks and keeping the Zarkon forces distracted. "Focus on the larger ships," she called to her team. "They are the key to breaking their line." The battle raged on, with both sides suffering losses. Captain Harris watched in awe as his friends fought valiantly, their bravery shining through in the heat of battle. But it was clear that the Zarkon fleet was vast, and they were beginning to lose ground. "Lena, we need to change tactics," Harris shouted. "Can we create a distraction?" Lena's eyes lit up. "Yes, we can overload the ship's power systems and create a massive explosion near their command ship. It will draw their attention away from the ground troops." "Do it!" Harris commanded. With skilled hands, Lena worked quickly to implement the plan. "On my mark! Get ready to fire at my signal." As the Endeavor moved closer to the Zarkon command ship, Harris felt a surge of hope. They could turn the tide if they could pull this off. "Now!" Lena shouted, and the crew fired a series of shots that struck the ship's power core. The Zarkon command ship erupted into a bright explosion, sending shock waves throughout the battlefield. The Zarkons were momentarily stunned, allowing the Thalan ground troops to advance. Varek seized the moment, rallying his forces. "Now! Push forward!" The united team fought with renewed energy. The Zarkons were thrown into chaos, their formation breaking as they scrambled to respond. Harris felt a thrill as he watched the tide turn in their favor. They were winning, fighting shoulder to shoulder, proving their strength and unity. As the last Zarkon ships began to retreat, a cheer erupted from both the ground troops and the crew aboard the Endeavor. They had done it. The final battle had been won. Captain Harris looked around at his friends, the allies he had fought alongside. They had come together against all odds, and their unity had prevailed. "We did it! Together!" he exclaimed. The galaxy was safe once more, and the bonds forged in battle would last a lifetime. They had risen together, fighting for their freedom and proving that when united, they were unstoppable.